if you have a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We really couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We do have to start off with a reaction to the England national team getting stunned by the Greek national team as they lose to Greece 2-1 with as they lose to Greece 2-1 and in the Nations League. It was a England team now being managed by Lee Carsley, who's there right now on an interim basis. Lee Carsley is. It was an interesting team he put out, getting on, really playing only one natural midfielder in Declan Rice, getting the likes of Bellingham, Palmer, Gordon, Saka, Foden, all on the pitch. A very open-ended team, also playing Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rico Lewis as fullbacks. Very attack-minded thinking team. And, this game almost showed why, and there's no, I'm not here defending Southgate and his tactic. He made huge mistakes in his run as English manager. But this game proved why Gareth Southgate had a little bit of more pragmatic approach with these players, because, well, they were too easy to play against England. Once England lost the ball, there was so much space for the Greek players to take advantage of, and they just looked entirely way too open and not a strong unit. Pavlidis took the lead for Greek in the 49th minute. Finally, the equalizer came late in the game, 87th minute, but in stoppage time, Pavlidis gets the winner, and it was honestly what Greece deserved. They created a lot of decent opportunities with limited possession, and they took advantage of a lot of space, and they played with a little bit of quality, Greece too. I was impressed with the football that they played, how they were able to get out and counter attack moments, take advantage of the spaces given. I thought England looked woeful on the ball, lacked that cutting edge when they lost the ball entirely too open, which makes sense when you're playing. Look, I don't mind playing Trent Alexander-Arnold and Rico Lewis as fullbacks. Yes, you want to go with the attack-minded approach, but when you put Saka, Foden, Bellingham, Gordon, Cole Palmer, that when you have that group of 5 players and the only midfielder with any defensive bone in him is Declan Rice, well, you'll be entirely too easy to play against. And this was Greece, a team, that not the greatest national team Greece is. Imagine you're going up the likes of imagine you're going up the likes of a France, a Spain, even Italy, a team with some quality. They would be way too easy to play against. England would be the way that they approach it now, and it's almost like Lee Carsley. He's trying to appeal to the fans, and that's something Southgate never really valued. Whenever he was deciding his tactics, his lineups, and all that, he never really valued. He never really tried to please the fans. I think Lee Carsley was trying to please the fans with the approach, because this was entirely way too open. And it's fine being open and wanting to play or not, it's not fine being open, obviously, it's never fine being open, but it's fine wanting to play an attacking way of going about it. But you have to protect yourself from being as open as England were with a good, defensive stability about it. And there was no stability in that. Too much space was given. When England lost the ball, they looked like they were in danger to get countered on every time England lost the ball. And England, this is a loss, but it's not the worst thing in the world. England, they got relegated in the last Nations League. So they now find themselves in Group B, which nobody really talks about, quite frankly, because Nations League doesn't really matter. But England now find themselves in Group B, in League B. So the group, even with this loss, the group is going to be entirely manageable for them to win it with, Ireland, who are not really good at all. Finland, who are not good at all. And then Greece, who's had a good start so far, 3 wins of 3, but we'll see if they can keep that lead at the end. But yeah, it's a big win for Greece going away to Wembley. Emotional win for them too. Greece was playing for something a little bit more with the passing of their former fullback, who, by the way, they were of George Baldock, who's, by the way, he's British born, George Baldock, and it was reported that the Greece players requested the game to be postponed after the death of George Baldock, but UEFA denied the Greece request. George Baldock, he was 31 years old. He was currently he was mid-season at Panathinaikos. He had 12 appearances for Greece over the past few years. Now he got into the Greece ranks the last 2 years. So a horrible scenario there, and really made this game an emotional game, for the Greek national team, to play for their player. And obviously that probably had an impact in this as well. That sort of thing does have an impact. I was seeing some of the comments after the game. We saw Vangelis Pavlidis, who scored the brace and scored that winning goal. He also had an emotional tribute after the game. He said it was a very special day and match for us. Our thoughts are with George. We are professionals and had to play the match. We gave our soul for him tonight. Today is not a day to talk about football. He was part of our team. We will miss him very much. Also, to a strength, his family, and not talk about football. The whole day was numb. We won tonight and don't want to celebrate. There are just no words. Ivan Jovanovic, who took over for Gus Poyet, who was the manager for Greece, who was the past manager for Greece. Ivan Jovanovic, he was really happy with the team spirit and the inspiration in which they played with in Baldock's memory, saying, "At such moments, football comes second. The time he has with the team, he made his mark, and that was visible in the way the players played today." So obviously for Greece, it was bigger than just another football game. As far as England, they need to, settle this managerial situation as fast as possible. Because, look, you don't have much, you think you have a lot of time, but you don't have much international breaks in between now and the World Cup. The great thing, the privilege that England have, that, me as a U.S. men's national team, I don't have when I'm, rooting for the U.S., is that England have World Cup qualifiers that they can use as preparation, real competitive games. So, but you need to have the manager in there so he can build a cohesion and he can tactically implement what. And if it is Lee Cardsley, and that is what England want to do, and they want to go with the Spanish national team route, the Luis de la Fuente route, okay, stop having him on limbo. Almost having to gamble in these sort of games to really impress and. During this tryout, stop doing all this and just give him the job and let him start building his team ready for the World Cup. If not, if you're looking at an Eddie Howe, if you're looking at a Graham Potter, finalize it. And the sooner the better. You cannot, it doesn't, I don't understand the whole notion of having an interim manager for multiple international windows. This is something you need to address. As soon as Southgate resigns, it's something that you need to be working on immediately. I don't understand these long periods of having an interim manager. It doesn't do no good for the players on the national team. It does no good for the team because there's performances like today that happen. And it does no good for the person who's in the interim role, especially if he is one of those candidates potentially vying for the managerial position. So they need to settle that and start building some continuity heading into these World Cup qualifiers to build the best team that they can build for 2026. Because this is a team, at the end of the day, you have some quality in this team. You do have a Cole Palmer, who's been amazing again this season so far. You have a Phil Foden. You have a Phil Foden who won the Premier League Player of the Year. You got a Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's the best player in the world at his position, arguably. You do have Bukayo Saka, Anthony Gordon, Jude Bellingham, Ollie Watkins. You have a good string of players, and then you have a good experience as well with Harry Kane. Kyle Walker, he's still involved. He was on the bench for today's game. They need to start building the continuity going forward. And whoever is the manager, when the next international break comes for the England national team, which I believe the next international window is in November, mid-November, they need to, the manager who will be taking them to the World Cup needs to be the manager then. Or at least they need to be on the verge of making the hire. They cannot be in the same position they are now in the window in a month, still in limbo, not exactly knowing what direction that they want to go to.